So the detective says, all right. I mean, there's no follow-up, right? So he goes, all right. After that happened, what happened down in the dispatch area? Now look, who the hell cares? I want to know what's happening up there, right? But anyway, this is really, it gets interesting though. I'm glad he asked the question.
Right.
Because according to the video, there's not much that's going on in the dispatch room. Okay? There's multiple videos of the dispatch room.
Oh, there are?
And
yeah,
there's not a lot going on. All right. I mean, they're literally laughing at Campos for getting shot by a pellet gun.
Are they really?
Yeah. So anyway, he goes, JV, the dispatcher, says a lot of stuff was going on. It was like my first experience like that. I remember answering the calls nonstop. People from all over the property, sister property, saying, hey, do you guys know anything about gunshots being fired? And I was just really relaying whatever messages that they were giving me. Like, hey, we got people at the Luxor calling about this room. We got injured guests. Actually, do you remember, blah, 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 active shooter 135, blase, blase, blase. He says, and then I got a call that shooters, plural, were in the crystal rooms. I think it's the crystal room, but the crystal rooms, which is on the 62nd floor.
Wow.
Of the Mandalay Bay. Have you heard of that one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, me neither.
Wow.
So now we've got, so this is interesting. I just want to point this out.
How many floors are there? Where's the 60th floor at? Is it the very top?
It is. So the way they do their floors, it's like up to a certain floor, and I'll show the picture. Up to a certain floor, then you've got the Four Seasons. So, you got the Four Seasons on certain floor. And it only goes up to like 40 something. But then the top two are like 60, 62, something like that. So I'll show the graphic on that. But so basically it's the top floors there, right? Penthouses.
Right.
So, but what's interesting is that he received a call. All right. He received a call and was told by somebody else.
Right.
There's shooters in the crystal rooms on the 62nd floor.
Huh.
Now remember, he was just talking to Jesus Campos.
Right.
Jesus never said there were shooters.
No.
Jesus said he was shot by a pellet gun. Probably by the Nanny, right?
Or the little rascal kids.
Right. So the dispatcher said there was an active shooter.
Right.
On 32. Right. Jesus never said that.
No.
But now he actually gets this call from somebody, which we don't know who, says there's multiple shooters. There's shooters in the crystal rooms on 62nd floor of the Mandalay Bay.
I wonder if that was an external call or an internal call, from somewhere inside, like on the 60th floor, or if that was someone outside looking up and saying, you got somebody shooting or whatever,
Well, let's read on and see.
That's where the origin came from. Yeah, go ahead.
So the detective says, did you ever hear what happened? Did you ever hear whatever came of that? And JV, the dispatcher, says, we sent units up there. Now, he's the first one I've ever heard that said they ever sent units up to the 62nd floor. Okay? Yeah. They sent units up there. They cleared the room. Right? So I'm assuming it's the crystal room and not rooms, like his statement says. But they cleared the room. So they sent somebody up there that cleared the room.
Right.
And there was no shooter in the room. They checked for injured guests and employees. As far as I remember, it sounded, now this means he's hearing it.
Right.
It sounded like they were trying to chase whichever shooter it was down the stairwell, and they didn't know which stairwell. So the team pretty much, whomever responded to the crystal room split up amongst the stairwells and then elevators to go down. And this was all while at least one manager was standing with Jesus Campos. But like I said, Jesus had already hung up, so I don't know where he was exactly.
Wow.
What? Oh, yeah. Simultaneously, man. Right?
This is some crazy.
That's what he said. He said simultaneously. He said this. Yeah. Remember, this was all happening at the same time, right?
Right. He still doesn't know.
No.
He still doesn't say anything about a concert going on outside and mass hysteria.
No. Although we do have now from this dispatcher.
Right.
That somebody called in a multiple shooter from the 62nd floor.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
At the same time, they sent units up there. They sent units to the 32nd. Everyone's trying to find two shooters. They said multiple shooters, right?
Right.
Down stairwells and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Never heard that.
No.
This guy did.
Huh.
Any follow-up questions? No. No, let's just leave it. 10 days later, do you think this cop heard anything about that shit? We didn't hear anything about it. It's all over the news. All right.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Detective says, we're almost done with this. So the detective says, anything else you'd like, that you can think of? I mean, that's his next question.
That's it?
Yeah, that's his next question.
You've got to be kidding me.
No.
Did they get a guy? Did they ever catch anybody? What happened next? Where'd the call come from? All that other stuff.
Who went up there?
That's that's horrible. And you got an FBI guy in there too?
FBI in there too. And an unknown.
An unknown.
There's 4 people in there.
That's horrible.
All right. So JV, the dispatcher, after being asked by the detective, do you have anything else you can think of that you want to kind of get off your chest, right?
So after that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. I've ever heard. We just had a call saying multiple shooters that someone
plural.
Actually saw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Where we don't even know multiple shooters on the 32nd floor. We just know that he got shot by a pellet gun. And he's been up there for a while now.
Right. Yeah, and this guy actually heard multiple people going down multiple stairways trying to chase the shooters.
Right. And that's it.
And the detective, next question is, okay, perfect. Is there anything else you can think of?
Oh my gosh. That hurts me right here in the chest. That right there. That's sad, man. That's sad.
Yeah. So JV, the dispatcher, says, I remember Luxor calling. The Luxor Hotel?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're connected.
Yeah.
They're Luxor, for anybody that's never been out there, Luxor and the Mandalay Bay are connected. It's like this big hall, like a 2-story, I want to say, hallway that's a mall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you and I were there, and both at different times,
mm-hmm.
and we both got something signed by Pete Rose. That's crazy, man. Dude, that's nuts. Yes. 2 separate times. I got a baseball, and you got that, and we didn't even know we were at the exact same place.
No. Get
the signature different times.
That's crazy.
By Pete Rose.
You continue to copy off of me.
Oh, my gosh.
Amazing, man. I'm trying to be like your big brother.
Oh, man. Dude, that's awesome, man.
Okay, so JV, the dispatcher, says, yeah, I remember the Luxor calling. They said something about they had an active shooter. So the detective says, okay. And JV dispatcher says, actually, no, correction. One of our guests misdialed, got a hold of the Luxor dispatch. Okay.
All right.
They said they could hear shots coming from above. So the Luxor sent their guys. Okay, so let's take a step back, because I have to kind of rephrase this statement to make sense, right? Because he talks like Jesus a little bit. So what JV, the dispatcher, is saying is he got this call from the Luxor. Luxor had received a phone call from somebody who was staying on the 29th floor. This 29 number is ridiculous in this.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So somebody in the Mandalay Bay who's staying on the 29th floor misdialed. I don't know how that happens. Misdialed, calls the Luxor dispatch, says there's an active shooter above them. The Luxor thinks it's in the Luxor, which doesn't make sense because, you know, when you pick up your phone, you know what room it's in. But
right. Yeah.
So if they're saying misdialed, what? You misdialed on your phone? I don't even know what their number. But anyway, so
that's weird.
Somehow or another, there's no follow-up question. So anyway, somebody in the Mandalay Bay from floor 29 calls the Luxor dispatch by mistake, says there's an active shooter they can hear above them. The Luxor sends guys to the 29th floor in their own tower, right? In the Luxor's 29th.
Okay. Yeah.
I told him, he says, JV, the dispatcher, tells the Luxor dispatch, no, we got him on the 32nd floor. Right?
Interesting.
Well, it is interesting because there's a lot of active shooter comments in this, and this dispatcher is really honed in on the 32nd floor for some reason.
That's weird, man.
But now you've got a guy, you've got the Luxor calling, right? And then you've got somebody. So anyway, so I'm just So JV, so the detective says, is that common for a guest to be able to call over to another property like that? Man, it's a curious question, right?
Sure.
So JV, the dispatcher, says, well, that's why I was a little confused. I said, why is our guest calling you guys? What else? Metro Dispatch called us at one point asking about a fire. To our knowledge, we didn't know anything about a fire. But this guy doesn't really answers anything. He just kind of goes off on
right.
thought. So JV, the dispatcher, continues and says, later that night, much later, after they had already breached the room, right?
Right.
I like the word because it's a consistent word, breach. That, you know,
after and then didn't Campos say breach down the hall?
Yeah, as he's running away.
Right.
Yeah.
I breached the hall.
Yeah, as if
something like that.
Popping smoke, he's getting out of there.
Right.
So after they had already breached the room, they were asking about. Okay, so JV, the dispatcher, says later that night, much later, after they, which I'm assuming he's saying the cops, after they had already breached the room, they were asking about, and I'm assuming he's saying, implying the same they.
Okay.
All right, so let's read it as if he's implying.
Right. Yeah, who's they? Yeah.
Later that night, much later, after they, the cops, had already breached the room, they, the cops, were asking about room 4328. He says, I don't know where that came from, but we don't even have a room 4328. So
that's weird.
Yeah. So the detective says, okay. Anybody out there who wants to be an investigator, do not follow.
Do not
train of questioning.
Do not follow that. What the hell is going on?
So JV, the dispatcher,
oh my gosh,
says So I don't know what the cops, were responding there. I guess responding to is what.
Yeah.
As far as I knew, it was one of our guys and a handful of officers responding to that room. Now, I don't know what room he's talking about. Is he talking about 4328 or is he talking about the room that was breached? I don't know. It's crazy.
I wonder if is there a 4328 in the Luxor?
I don't know. But he said 4328. But then his next sentence, he goes, "We don't even have a 4328." So I don't know what they were responding to or responding there. As far as I knew, it was one of our guys and a handful of officers responding to that room. Well, he just said the sentence before he didn't have a room of 4328. Now he's telling us he's got one of his guys and a handful of the other ones.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
My guess, I'm just wondering if 4328 is on the 62nd floor. So, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man.
The detective says, "Okay, all right."
Okay, all right, baby.
Anything else?
Oh, shit.
Literally, dude.
You know, the unknown person in these that's not mentioned in these interviews, and it's funny that the lingo is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Breached, hide,
Mm-hmm.
you know, leading questions or not enough questions. You got two people in there. You got an FBI agent and you got the deputy. You got the investigator and the third
detective.
person that we don't even know. Exactly. The detective, yeah.
Right.
And an FBI agent.
Oh, absolutely.
And then a third person in all these interviews that we don't even know who it is.
Mm-mm.
You know, as far as we know, it's the writer of the script. You know, it's the script writer that hands the guy this because none of it was videotaped. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing he says at the very end of this is that he says, basically ask a pretty good question. The FBI agent now asks a question. Okay. The only question that the FBI agent asked the entire time. All right.
What was it?
Says, I just have one question. The phone call that Jesus made, did it come from the house phone or his cell phone?
You've got to be shitting me.
And JV, the dispatcher, says his cell phone. And the FBI agent says, okay. JV says, because I've worked down there long enough to where I could see the caller ID. And I was like, oh, I answered the phone and said, quote, yeah, what do you want? The FBI agent replies, that's all I got.
That's embarrassing. They should be ashamed of themselves.
It's our national law enforcement agency right there.
Seriously, they should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, you know that. I know that. Anybody listening to this knows that. That they ought to be embarrassed that that's even out.
They should be embarrassed.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And I'll say it to their face if they want to say it. I mean, that's horrible.
Well, it doesn't represent the rest of us who have worked in the field.
Yeah.
And
so in the federal government, you know that the guys that you worked with, how in-depth this is.
Oh, man.
How in-depth of investigations you did. Because it would be thrown out any other way. And like for me, I mean, and it's, I mean, for even local fire and police departments, a prosecutor will throw that out if it's not all together.
Dude, it's even worse than that. When you're working as an investigator or working in any job,
right?
You have levels of supervisors.
Yes.
And people who review, like report officers who review your paperwork.
Right.
Right?
They review. Yes. Yes.
Your papers, your investigative report will go through every one of these. And the more it's returned, and the more questions and holes that they basically shoot into it, the
Right.
worse you look. So
this is horrible. If you and I
Oh.
are putting this together like this,
oh
that whole chain of command got to be embarrassed with themselves.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
disgrace.
It's
That's
horrible.
absolute disgrace.
Okay, so one last point on this one as we wrap up here. This is obviously number 0, right? Number 0. How long do you think this interview that occurred 10 days after the shooting lasted?
Well, I doubt if it lasted very long. Because
Okay.
hold on a second. Oh, first of all, it was at 3:30, right?
It was at, they started the recording.
Okay.
Interview is going to be conducted at approximately 15:48 hours. So 15:48, 3:48, 3:49
Okay.
in the afternoon.
Okay, so 10 till 4.
10 till 4. Yeah.
10 till 4.
Yeah.
Well, the dude probably gets off at 4. So it's got, I'm going to say 10 minutes. Am I dropping the mic again, baby? I know government employees, man.
This is ridiculous.
I'm right there. Drop the mic. I'm timing it.
This is unfair.
That's not even work for me.
This is unfair.
I know people. Okay, it's 10 till 4. This dude's getting off at 4. Mandalay Bay is not paying overtime for this guy. I'm telling you right now, they're not paying overtime, and he's getting off at 4 o'clock. By God, because he got to go pick up his kids or something.
The detective says, perfect. All right. That'll be it. Operator. Same persons are present. It's 16:01.
Boom! Yeah! I'm telling you. Dude, you need to know anything? Call me. Call me. Text me, okay? I'm available. For you, I'm available. Just text me. Ask me something. Go ahead, I'll tell you.
I don't know what's more frustrating is listening to the sworn statements here and reading them and seeing how crappy of a job everybody did and all the holes and the scripting and all this, or having to tell you were right. So,
yeah,
hey,
baby.
This sucks, actually. It's driving me crazy. And I'm the guy reading through it first. I should be prepared.
I am right on the money.
10 minutes. 10 minutes for guy number 2 here.
It's amazing, man.
With
amazing.
Four people in the room.
It's really ludicrous. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. You know what? And after we finish up with all this investigation, there's going to be another one that we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna see the same really bad playbook.
Well, that's it. So at the end of this,
yes,
whether we discover somebody who did it or what, I mean, people have been working on this for years.
Right.
And it just always goes down rabbit holes. And we know somebody, some organization, something purposely did multiple things simultaneously and then jumbled everything up.
Right.
It's all done on purpose.
Right.
So whether or not we discover the actual truth, what we will discover is a playbook.
Correct.
That we will be able to lay over top of all other incidents because we have already discovered the playbook from previous incidents.
Exactly.
And these are very similar. So
past, present, and future playbook. Yep.
I only have to believe that because we're seeing the same chess game being played, that it's the same.
It's going to be very interesting with other things that come up.
Yeah.
Other events.
Yeah.
And unfortunate events.
134, they had a window open, right? Paddock,
right.
Supposedly.
Right.
Went through the wall as a ghost because the door was locked. Obviously,
right.
Breach it. Shot out of that window.
Right.
The room next to 134, which is 132, there was somebody in there. I mean,
it's crazy, man.
yeah. So I'll show that video, but the next video that we should do right after this is according to the report, the Vegas final report, they have the door lock information for 134 and 135.
Okay.
So basically, I've gone through and looked at when 134 was locked and unlocked, when 135 was locked and unlocked, right? It goes back and forth, back and forth. There's pages missing. There's pages missing. I have to warn everybody.
Yep.
However, at 9:29, again, this number 29 keeps popping up, dude.
It's weird, man.
Okay. At 9:29, both 134 and 135 are opened and closed at the same time.
Wow. Interesting.
Stay tuned. It gets even better.
Oh, man.
It gets even better, dude. And I'll show the video. We'll dig in.
Yeah.
I'll show the video clip. I mean, I'm watching like everybody else. I'm watching tons of videos.
Right.
I'm going through going, I haven't heard that before, and we're going to post it. So that next video,
right,
we're going to go through the door. We should both be in a hotel where we open, close, open, close, open, close. Right?
Huh.
To try it out and see if we can do it, right, by ourselves. But there's more than just the two doors closing at the same time and opening at the same time.
Okay.
I've got a secret, all right,
cool,
that I've discovered. So
all right, I'll answer it for you, too. Just ask me about it.
Well, hey, I'm going to research. Hopefully, hopefully it's not an 8-hour-a-day job kind of guy. You're driving me crazy, man. All right, we'll see you guys later. Next show. All right. Be there. Be square.
Awesome. See ya.